Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, good morning to you all, and thank you for attending the second annual Rebuild Ukraine Business Conference. Following the success of last year's Rebuild Ukraine Business Conference and the very positive responses we had, it was agreed to repeat it almost immediately this year, and we thank you for your attendance. This year, we are sitting in a sold-out show with actually a 20% wait list. So those of us in the room can consider ourselves very fortunate to be here. My name is John Moskalik, Vice President for Public and Governmental Affairs for the Canada-Ukraine Chamber of Commerce, and it'll be my great pleasure to spend the next 2 days with you as your moderator. We have an exciting program with a number of engaging speakers who will be appearing both in person and online, and many opportunities to explore in a very exciting market, Ukraine. Thank you again for your time and attention. To begin this year's conference, I invite the President of the Canada-Ukraine Chamber of Commerce, Mr. Zenon Potichny, to the podium.
Thank you, John. We call him in our family Johnny. That's how everybody knows him. And as I said yesterday at the reception, the best dressed man in the room, always. Thank you, Johnny. Respected ministers, elected officials, representatives of government, esteemed members of the diplomatic corps, members of business community, ladies and gentlemen, friends and guests, and Mr. Mayor of Lviv, Mr. Sadovyi, I see you made it from Winnipeg to Toronto. Thank you very much. My name is Zenon Potichny, President of Canada-Ukraine Chamber of Commerce, and it's my pleasure to open the second annual Rebuild Ukraine Business Conference. As John already mentioned, it was successful, so we figured we'll do the Rebuild Ukraine 2.0. And today is that day. Almost exactly 1 year ago, we had the first one. Today, we'll explore several sectors of Ukrainian economy, open for investment, have an opportunity to network, explore, and also hear status updates and success stories of some companies who inked deals at last year's conference. We have that session on success stories going a little bit later, but there were quite few deals, memorandums of understanding signed, so that's another sign of successful conference. I hope after today's we'll get many, many more deals and contracts signed. Canada-Ukraine Chamber of Commerce is proud to be the organizer of this event. For over 30 years, the organization has promoted trade and investment between Canada and Ukraine. The culmination of this hard work was solidified with the signing of the Free Trade Agreement in 2016, and most recently in September 2023, participating in the update of the CAFTA agreement during President Zelensky's historic visit to Canada. The world has witnessed the horror of the last 21 months in Ukraine. Yet, we must remember that after the storm will be the sun, will come the sun. Despite the damage caused by Russia's unprovoked war, the Ukrainian economy remains stable, and in some sectors see even growth, with 80% of territory minimally affected by the war. Opportunities for investment do exist, and healthy returns are possible. Today, we hope that you will find new information and people that will lead to a fruitful partnership in Ukraine. Today, we come together for a chance to examine opportunities to capture and the peace of rebuild. With many Western governments already committing funds for the reconstruction of Ukraine, this rebuild will be nothing short of a 21st century Marshall Plan. And the numbers that are being thrown around are probably somewhere between 500 billion and 700 billion, and I even heard somebody throwing a number of $1 trillion for rebuilding of Ukraine. And why is it important to get involved? Besides being Europe's largest country, Ukraine is also rich in minerals, agricultural wealth, energy reserves, and innovative IT sector being deemed the brains basket of the world. A workforce that is willing and able to perform. Ukraine is quickly moving forward to become a vibrant, fully integrated member of the European Union and taking its rightful place on the world stage. Ukraine will be a place where everyone will want to do business. Today, we seek to present a multi-angled overview of the country's landscape, introduce key players within the country with experience, and explore opportunities to the future. Your presence today is sure sign that you also can see opportunities that are on the horizon. We wish to recognize and give thanks to our title sponsor, the Temirtay Foundation. Thank you very much. We're grateful to our partners who have steadfastly worked with our team to ensure an excellent forum. They are Business Council of Canada, Global Affairs Canada, Embassy of Ukraine in Canada, Ministry of Digital Transformation of Ukraine, CO Club Ukraine, and Ukraine Invest. Thank you all for being and helping us to do this. I thank you all for your attention today exploring opportunities in Ukrainian market space. While it goes without saying that Ukraine does not always get the most positive press attention, it does have tremendous potential. Objectively speaking, you have a country with huge natural resource reserves, mining opportunities, oil and natural gas reserves, rich and fast agricultural lands, natural water supply, tourism opportunities, including both mountains and seaside, an intelligent and dedicated workforce. If I had not prefaced my last comment by referencing Ukraine, one could even have thought that I was describing Canada's economic landscape. Essentially, Ukraine is a mini Canada on the eastern flank of Europe that with the right amount of oversight and strategic foreign investment can reach its potential, one of the top 5 economies in the European Union. Canada-Ukraine Chamber of Commerce continues to foster this vision. Throughout changing regimes and political shifts, CUCC has never faltered in its commitment to seeing Ukraine reach its full potential. That commitment is as strong today as it was in 1992 and will continue to be strong as we march toward victory and the ensuing rebuild. As an investor, I say to you honestly, you are in the right place at the right time. Seize the opportunity now. Thank you and have an eye-opening day. Slava Ukraini!
Thank you, Zenon. And now we invite Goldie Hyder, President and CEO of the Business Council of Canada.
I wish I didn't have to be here. And here, today, that remains the same case. I wish I didn't have to be here. We had wanted, and we still do want, Ukraine's victory to come quickly, and for your country's wounds to heal. And my hope is that the next 2 days will help us to ensure both of those things happen. Now, it's an honor for me to be here and a privilege with my friend Zenon in welcoming all of you here today. I want to offer a special greeting to those of you who traveled here from Ukraine. Your visit, just like President Zelensky's visit or your Prime Minister's visit, whom I had the fortune of meeting this year, is important because they can't bomb your spirit. And when you defy the thinking that they can, is how you put the seeds in for the victory that awaits you. And so I thank you for coming here. We're approaching now the 2nd anniversary of Russia's brutal and baseless invasion. Russia will never break the spirit of the Ukrainian people, nor its entrepreneurial spirit. Now, some say it's too soon to talk about rebuilding. I answer that, in fact, we started a year ago. I want you to know that your ambassador, a very near dear friend of mine, when Yulia came to Canada, within a few weeks, I received a request that she would like to come and meet. And I thought to myself, what would the ambassador of Ukraine want to do 2 weeks into her tenure to meet the head of the Business Council of Canada? And so when she came to meet me, she said, "You must be wondering, why would a newly appointed ambassador to Ukraine want to meet with the CEO of the Business Council of Canada?" I said, "As a matter of fact, Yulia, I am. Ambassador, I am." And she said, "You know, Goldie, there are 3 fronts to this battle. There's a military front, and the military people will do what they need to do to take care of that. There's a diplomatic front, and the diplomatic people will do what they need to do to try and bring a conclusion to this horrific event. But there's also an economic front. There is a business front, and we can't wait for a war to end. We must ensure that we maintain that 3rd pillar." And it gave me comfort, because to be very honest, I felt awkward talking about business when there's a war going on. And her point to me was, that's one more way the other side wins, is if we stop making sure that we're helping the economy and people go about their lives, however abnormal those may seem today. I was speaking earlier, people are still living their life. They're going to work. They're going out to eat. They're being told that this restaurant's safe because there's a bunker somewhere just in case there's a raid. Now, I find that abnormal, and I'm sure they do too. We cannot let that become a new normal. We must make sure that we return to a true normal. And I think the role of businesses is to help facilitate that. That Canadian and Ukrainian companies, we've never really stopped doing business together. Companies have signed large commercial agreements in the last year. I know you'll hear from one of our members, my friend Tim Gitzel, the CEO of Cameco. We were in the room together. I was there when both our prime ministers announced of signing of a very significant deal for long-term supply of uranium from Canada. You're right. There are a lot of things that Canada and Ukraine share, and we need to make sure that our natural resources that are so in demand around the world are at the front and center for that. But the fact is, there's more we can do, and there's more that we must do, both business and government together. Starting with leveraging the Canada-Ukraine Free Trade Agreement. We need to put that in place. And we also need to look at our export development capacity through our EDC to expand the risk insurance and to really offer more export credits, 2-year export credits that would help boost trade and investment. That's how you strengthen the economic pillar, and that's how you do it in partnership. And I know that later today you'll be hearing from my friend Minister Ng, who is doing and is leading the effort to organize trade missions between our countries, and I can assure you and assure her and our government that Canada's business community will be your full partner in supporting the initiative to demonstrate to not just the people of Ukraine, but to the rest of the world, that we can be counted on to stand up for doing the right thing. And so we at the Business Council of Canada are proud and will be proud to accompany her to Ukraine in a mission when it is announced. Just as we are proud to be partners with the CUCC. And this is an important conference. I think as I look forward and think about being here next year, I really hope that next year I want to be here. That next year I'm here because we're not having to talk about war. That we have put that behind us, and that we have found a normal that includes peace, and that includes the opportunity for us to visit each other, to do business together, to share our cultures, and to have deep people-to-people ties. That is the foundation of the relationship between Canada and Ukraine. Slava Ukrainia.
We are now going to invite Mr. Ivan Baker, a Member of Parliament for Etobicoke Centre, Chair of the Canada-Ukraine Parliamentary Friendship Group, my friend of 35 years, and recently engaged gentleman, to give greetings. So.
Дуже дякую. Thank you very much, Johnny. Slava Ukraini! It's an honor for me to be here with all of you, with so many people who have had the chance to work with in support of Ukraine, so many leaders from Ukraine, so many leaders here in Canada, and so many friends. And I thank you all for coming together today to once again support Ukraine and support the rebuild of Ukraine. Again, my name is Ivan Baker. I'm the Member of Parliament for Etobicoke Centre, and I chair the Canada-Ukraine Parliamentary Friendship Group, which is the body of members of parliament and senators in Canada's parliament who work to support Ukraine, of all parties. So think of me as the chair of the Ukraine caucus in Canada's parliament. And I'd like to start by thanking the Canada-Ukraine Chamber of Commerce for organizing this conference once again for a second year. Let's give them a round of applause, everyone involved, for all of their work in putting this together. And I know that throughout the day, some of my colleagues, elected colleagues, former elected colleagues, will be present here today. I know Minister Ng, our Minister of Trade, will be here later this afternoon. But I also want to acknowledge former Member of Parliament and former Leader of the Opposition, Erin O'Toole, is here with us. Thank you, Erin, for being here and for all of your support. I'm here today on behalf of our Deputy Prime Minister, Chrystia Freeland. And many of you know Chrystia personally. Some of you don't. But I think all of you would appreciate the fact, what I'm about to say, which is that it would take exceptional circumstances for Chrystia not to be here this morning. And I just saw Wayne Easter here in the room, former Member of Parliament as well. So thank you, Wayne, for being here as well. But Chrystia Freeland wouldn't miss this if she didn't have to. And today, Minister Freeland, as Finance Minister, will be introducing the Fall Economic Statement in the House of Commons, which is like a mini budget here in Canada. And so she had to stay in Ottawa today. But she did send greetings, and I'd like to read what she had to say to all of you. It is a pleasure to welcome you to this year's Rebuild Ukraine Business Conference, and I want to thank the Canada-Ukraine Chamber of Commerce for putting on this remarkably important event for the second year in a row. This conference is an opportunity to demonstrate Canada's absolute solidarity with the brave people of Ukraine and to speak about the work we will need to do together to support the rebuilding of a victorious Ukraine. Today, after 635 days of long, brutal fighting, Ukrainians need to know that Canada's support for Ukraine is not and will not waver. We are providing Ukraine with the financial and military support it needs, and we are helping to lead a global effort to seize the sanctioned assets of Russian oligarchs and the Russian Central Bank in support of Ukraine. The people of Canada, represented by the amazing Canadians in attendance today, speak on behalf of all of us in saying that we will keep the faith. We will never abandon Ukraine. We understand that you are fighting for us and for the rules-based order everywhere in the world, and we are resolute in our support. Our government will do everything we can for as long as it takes to support the brave people of Ukraine and to rebuild a free, prosperous, and victorious Ukraine when the day arrives. Signed, Chrystia Freeland, Canada's Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Finance. I just wanted to add a few words of my own, if I may. Look, as we speak, the Ukrainian people are risking everything and sacrificing their lives to defend their homeland from Russia's genocidal war. And notwithstanding their courage, notwithstanding their resolve, the situation in Ukraine is dire, and this war is having repercussions around the world. Russia is committing genocide every day. There are millions of displaced people and refugees as a result of this war. Hundreds of millions of people in the global south, primarily in the Middle East and Africa, are facing food shortages and famine because of this war and because of the blockades. And the war is the primary cause of food and energy inflation around the world. And this is a threat to global security and to Canada's security. So the Ukrainian people are not just fighting for themselves, they're fighting for all of us. And we need to fight for them every day. You have been fighting for them, and Canada has been fighting for them. Canada has been a global leader in supporting Ukraine. We've provided about $10 billion worth of support to Ukraine. That includes about $2 billion worth of military support, over $5 billion in financial support, which is the most per capita of any country in the world. The Canadian Armed Forces have trained almost 40,000 members of the Ukrainian Armed Forces. Just think about that. 40,000 men and women on the front in Ukraine who were trained by Canada. Over $350 million in humanitarian support, $127 million in development assistance, the implementation of the Canada-Ukraine Authorization for Emergency Travel, which has allowed about 200,000 Ukrainians to find refuge here in Canada. We're taking leadership, as Chrystia mentioned in her greeting, on the seizure of Russian assets. And of course, the renegotiated and modernized Canada-Ukraine Free Trade Agreement, which my understanding is going to a vote in the House this afternoon, and I'm looking forward to be back for that. So these are contributions that we can be very proud of. But it won't be enough until Ukraine decisively wins the war. Our Prime Minister has said that we will stand with the Ukrainian people as long as it takes and as much as it takes. He said that victory is the only option. Victory is the only option for Ukraine, but it's also the only option for Canada. If we want to stop genocide, global starvation, global inflation, if we want to secure our own sovereignty and security, we must ensure that Ukraine wins. We must ensure that Ukraine achieves a decisive victory. To me, that means ensuring Ukraine wins the war, that it regains all of its territory, including Crimea, Donetsk, and Luhansk, every inch of Ukraine's territory, but also means that Ukraine wins the peace, which means many things. But among those things are that Ukraine is secure, that there's justice for Russian war crimes, and that we rebuild Ukraine, which is why we're all here today. So no matter the challenges in the weeks and months to come, I hope that we all recommit ourselves today to ensuring that we will not stop fighting, not stop working until we rebuild Ukraine, until we rebuild all of Ukraine. Let's commit that we'll stand with the Ukrainian people until they achieve that decisive victory. Because victory is the only option for Ukraine, and it's the only option for Canada. Працюємо до перемоги. Слава Україні!
We're going to start again with Yulia Sviridenko, First Deputy Prime Minister of Ukraine for the Ministry of Economy, who will be joining us online.
Yes, so I want to take this opportunity and express gratitude to the government of Canada for your support since the beginning of the full-scale Russian war of aggression against Ukraine. And of course, Canada maintains a firm position in support of Ukraine through very extensive military, financial support, technical support, sanction against the aggressor. Canada has always been a reliable partner and a big friend of Ukraine. Strengthen trade and economic ties between the two countries within the framework of the updated free trade agreement between Ukraine and Canada is a very important priority for us. Key drivers for the economic recovery in 2023 are the increasing of the government demand for goods and services related to the defense, higher incomes of Ukraine's defender that support consumer demand, and the stabilization of the industrial output, and much better performance of the agricultural sector. The forecasts of economic recovery in 2023 are optimistic. According to our estimates, as for now, the near annual GDP growth exceeds 5%. I just would like to remind you that during the first year of the large-scale invasion, and the fall in GDP was around 29%. So now we, like a government of Ukraine, is actively engaged in establishing the conditions fostering fair competition, investment attraction, and development of reliable state institutions while implementing the existing reforms. In this context, implementation of the right business reforms, government incentives, de-risking programs, and increasing access to finance will support a green and resilient reconstruction. So consequently, the government of Ukraine is actively working to build the necessary capacity to Ukraine's green transition, aligning with the country's objective to full integration into European and global supply chains. So we are discussing right now extensively with European Commission comprehensive 50 billion euro recovery plan for Ukraine, which should incorporate provision for supporting private business and ensuring investor guarantees. So I invite Canadian business to participate in Ukraine reconstruction efforts. Presently, private investors have very unique chance to lay the groundwork for launching their businesses even before the country achieves victory in the ongoing war. For us, very strategically, to focus on several sectors. First of all, it's defense. Second one, it's production and processing of agricultural products, renewable energy, gas production and storage, green metallurgy, export logistics, and of course, IT. Ukraine needs foreign investment because they have the highest multiplier effect for the Ukrainian economy. Jointly, together with international partner and financial institution, we're working on creating a war risk reinsurance fund, which will help to relaunch the market of large private reinsurers and international and Ukrainian insurance market operators. So we look forward for more deeper cooperation with Export Development Canada regarding the war risk insurance. We encourage EDC to provide investment insurance coverage to joint ventures that can be established by both Ukrainian and Canadian partners. I would like also to invite the Business Development Bank of Canada to start financing the Ukrainian private sector, to start financing state-owned companies and municipalities. It's crucial for Ukraine to further receive Canada's support to the armed force of Ukraine with additional air defense, electronic warfare system, and military drones. And I want to thank to the Ukrainian World Congress in Canada and the Robotics Center for the assistance provided in the purchase of 2 sets of military drones. As for today, the respective training is already underway together with the Government of Canada and the State Border Guard Service of Ukraine, which carries the duty of protecting the state border and sovereign right of Ukraine. So it's crucial for us to highlight how meaningful the support from Canada has been for Ukraine during the challenging period. And I think that with the substantial demand for unmanned system in Ukraine, we anticipate the Robotics Center to localize its manufacturing enterprise within Ukraine's territory. And I think the collaboration between Ukrainian and Canadian production with advanced technology on our soil hold significance for Ukraine. There are a huge potential for Ukraine to emerge as a manufacturer for the defense industrial complex, not only for domestic market, but also for the Western nations. So at the same time, the conditions of the Russians for the efforts to use food supply chain as a military tool, Ukraine needs to search for a new alternative and predictable export opportunity that would ensure the sustainable development of agrarian processing industries. Ensuring the workload of such enterprises will not only create reliable basis for supporting of Ukrainian economy, but also will have high social importance to certain region of Ukraine. In this regard, I respectfully request the Canadian side to consider the possibility of granting an trade preference by Canada for Ukraine in the form of separate quota for the import of poultry meat, egg, and egg products. So I'm looking forward to continue our cooperation between Ukraine and Canada with even more extensive involvement of Canadian business into Ukraine's reconstruction. Thank you for your attention, and Slava Ukraini!